when we're talking about inflation, right, we're talking about the worst polls ever for any president belong to Donald John Trump. That's worse. He's doing worse than Carter. He's doing worse than Joe Biden did in his last term. When you put it all together, you just go, man alive, man, what are you?
Please like, subscribe, and share. Harry Enten joined Abby Phillip on CNN to discuss Donald Trump's terrible poll numbers, the struggling economy, and growing concerns that Trump is disconnected from the financial struggles facing everyday Americans. We're going to break down some of the biggest moments from this heated panel discussion on Abby Phillip's show, and I'll share my thoughts along the way. Let's jump right into it together.
Many of which have defined careers. We've heard about the Dean Scream, binders full of women, voting for and against it, and it's legal because the president does it. And then there is Donald Trump. Because he floods the zones with daily and sometimes hourly blunders and moments, many Americans, particularly his own supporters, often give him a pass for it. But could this week's gaffe expose him on something that Americans are not willing to let slide?
When you're negotiating with Iran, Mr. President, to what extent are Americans' financial situations motivating you to make a deal?
Not even a little bit. The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody.
That is quite a thing to say out loud, especially considering that 77% of Americans are ticked off about their financial situation. Many of them blame Trump and his policies. And boy, did Republicans that tie themselves in knots trying to defend what Trump said or claim that they didn't hear it at all.
I don't know that he said that.
I think that was just a sort of a throwaway line.
Did he say that? I don't have a comment about that, mostly because I think he actually does care.
I would have to find out the context of it. I'm sorry.
Don't take it out of context. The American people love him.
It's got to be out of context. I don't think there's anything he's more focused on.
I don't know the context in which he made that comment.
I don't think the president said that. I think that's a misrepresentation of what the president said.
Well, you heard it yourself. And it does seem like in this moment when gas prices are $4.50 a gallon, it's a moment when even before the gas prices were $4.50 a gallon, Americans were not happy with how he's handling the economy.
And regardless of what exactly he did mean, the context matters, but also here's what also matters. Democrats love that comment. They're going to cut it and put it in so many ads before the midterm elections. My goodness gracious, it's a dopey comment from that perspective. And more than that, we're talking about 79% of Americans disapprove of Donald Trump on gas prices. That is the highest percentage that any president has had disapproving them on gas prices in any question I could possibly find. We're talking about when we're talking about inflation, right? We're talking about the worst polls ever for any president belong to Donald John Trump. That's worse. He's doing worse than Carter. He's doing worse than Joe Biden did in his last term. When you put it all together, you just go, man alive, man, what are you doing?
Well, if it were just that one thing, that would be enough. But here's Trump on Thursday, again, down.
Please like, subscribe, and share. Before we get into this next part, I have to say that Harry Enten is making a strong point during this discussion with Abby Phillip. Democrats will probably use these comments in midterm campaign ads, but honestly, they should already be pushing them everywhere. If I were running Democratic strategy, I'd have billboards, nonstop commercials, and social media ads highlighting Donald Trump saying he doesn't think about Americans' finances. Republicans are relentless with messaging, and Democrats need to match that energy because this issue is too big to ignore. Trump then tried defending the economy by saying he inherited high prices and is bringing them down, while also claiming people are finding cheaper places to buy oil. But when he joked about critics saying he forgets about the little guy, it didn't sound like a simple mistake. CNN labeled it a gaffe, but this feels more like Trump. The reality is Trump has always focused on himself, his wealth, and the people around him. Many critics argue he sees ordinary supporters as people he can manipulate while he and his wealthy allies benefit from the system. Later, during an interview with Bret Baier on Fox News, Trump reportedly doubled down instead of walking the comments back. That's why many people believe this wasn't an accident at all, but a reflection of how he truly views everyday Americans.
Actually, that he inherited high prices, gas prices or otherwise. But Trump is living in this world in which he can still blame Biden for everything, and yet Americans are saying the clock is ticking on your term, and you promised us that you would do something about it.
Yeah, so given those expectations, I think the frustration is understandable. I mean, it is true that we had record inflation in many ways during the prior administration, too. It's also true that the state that I'm from, California, prices are way higher than in any other state in the country. We have among the highest grocery prices, highest housing costs, highest gas and electricity rates in the country. So there's plenty of blame to go around. I think that is the problem, though, with the way Washington functions.
Guess what? Donald Trump is the president of the United States, which means California is included in that as well. California is one of the states in the United States, no matter how much MAGA and the right wing want to pretend like the blue states don't count when it's something that is negative for Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the president of all of the states, not just the states that right wingers like. I want to take a look at Carrie Champion and Arthur Aidala going at it with over the same old MAGA lies about the war.
By saying they can have a nuclear weapon. They've tried to wreak enough havoc on the global economy as it is. We don't want to incentivize it to do that more. But at the end of the day, every decision that we make in every policy domain needs to be squarely focused on how is this going to impact affordability.
I totally agree with what you just said. If you're President Trump, are you supposed to say, and maybe we're giving him more credit than he deserves, how premeditated this was, but are you supposed to say, of course I care about the finances?
It doesn't matter if it was premeditated or not because he doubled down on it and showed that he does not care about Americans' finances.
Of course I care about the midterms. Of course I care, because you're basically telling Iran, keep blocking the strait, screw up our economy as much as possible. That's the biggest damage you can do to us. And I mean, you don't tell your adversary what your weakest point is.
You can definitely say, yes, of course I care about
you should say that,
the pain that Americans are going through. I mean, it is totally possible to say Iran should not have a nuclear weapon. And also, we see your pain. We understand that you're going through something.
Here's the problem with that argument. First of all, you're trying to assume what he meant, and we don't know what he meant. You sound like the context of it all, and I don't want to hear that if I'm an American. We got the latest polls. 24% of Americans, those are the only ones who actually think we should actually be at war, and this is not an issue. I'll tell you what I do know. He could have easily said, yes, I care. I really do care. But you know what? We got $1 billion, literally, I don't know how much, I honestly don't know how much his ballroom is, but his priorities are not the American people. I'm going to tell you that. We've got a ballroom that he cares about.
You seem like a ballroom person.
I don't care about a ballroom. I don't care about a ballroom. He cares about a ballroom. He can tell you he cares about his ballroom, but he doesn't care about our finances.
Would you agree that our safety is more important than our economy? In a general sense.
Let me tell you, do you believe Americans think they're more safe because we're at war with Iran? Be honest.
I think
the majority of Americans do not. The latest poll has said that.
Iran is a very formidable enemy of the United States. We are their number one target.
Most Americans feel more safe right now because we are at war.
If you have the stats.
Please like, subscribe, and share. Carrie Champion makes a point that a lot of Americans agree with. Most people were never worried about Iran being a direct threat to the United States. What Americans are actually stressed about is the cost of living, paying for gas, groceries, healthcare, and everyday bills. I was at the grocery store recently, and even basic items like orange juice are getting ridiculously expensive. Families are wondering if they can afford medical treatment, save for retirement, or send their kids to college. Those are the real concerns facing everyday people. Many Americans outside the MAGA movement never believed Iran was the major danger being portrayed on television. While right-wing commentators focused on fear and national security talking points, most citizens were focused on whether they could survive financially. Critics argue that Donald Trump and the Republican Party are using these issues to distract from the struggles ordinary Americans face every day. As I've said before, Democrats have a huge opportunity here if they know how to message it correctly. A lot of voters are frustrated with rising costs and feel disconnected from politicians they believe care more about power and money than working families. That frustration could become a major factor in the next election. So what do you think? Are you siding with Harry Enten and Carrie Champion on Abby Phillip's show, arguing that Americans aren't buying the fear-driven narrative? Or do you believe the MAGA argument that Iran was a serious threat to the country? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.